Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Transformers Cyberverse Deluxe class Starscream. I personally was not expecting another wave out of these Cyberverse figures, as despite the first couple of waves being quite decent in terms of the articulation, accessories and paint apps, they never really resonated all that well with me, and I'm pretty sure that many other collectors had a very similar thought process. Although they were good, they were not figures that I certainly was crying out for another wave of, but judging by some of the images of this latest wave, we do appear to be in for perhaps some of the best figures to come out of the Cyberverse line so far. Taking a look here at Starscream in the packaging, once again we have that amazing window view display which clearly showcases Starscream in robot mode. We of course do get his blast effects as well as his null rays here on the side, and I've got to say that this blast effect here could potentially be the best one we have ever gotten. It looks really awesome. We do have a cool image here of the character models with the Seeker Strike gimmick. As we take a look here towards the side of the box, we have the same Megatron, Starscream and Shockwave image that we've seen on some of the other figures. And taking a look here at the back of the box, we do of course have an image of Starscream in both robot mode and jet mode, and of course it shows all of the additional blast effects attached onto the figure. And once again, I personally do believe that this missile launcher blast effect could potentially be the best blast effect that we've gotten from some of the most recent Hasbro products. We of course do get the brief bio-scheming second in command, and then taking a look here towards the side of the box, we of course just have the character model of Starscream. So without further ado, let's crack Starscream open and see what awaits us inside. And so here we have the new Cyberverse Adventures Deluxe Class Starscream opened up and out of the packaging, and I judged this figure way too prematurely, as this figure here has turned out really nicely. Certainly one of the highlights to come out of this all new wave for the Cyberverse figures, and unlike some of my initial presumptions where I believed Soundwave would be the highlight out of this wave, Starscream has come in and obliterated him by easily becoming my favourite Cyberverse Deluxe to date. Taking a look here at his robot mode, we'll first of all discuss some of the accessories that this figure does indeed come with. Now, in my opinion, this particular Starscream is a prime example of them incorporating more accessories by scrapping the builder figure. This does not come with 2 blast effects, it actually comes with 3, and one of the effects is actually quite a significantly large piece. So we do get a pair of blast effects here. These are your standard, more null ray-esque type of blasts, and these certainly have come out rather nicely. You can see how they have been cast out of a translucent orange plastic. Something which is worth noting is that I have found these to be made out of a little bit more of a firmer material than compared to the previous Siege blast effects. So that does lead me to believe that perhaps Hasbro are improving the materials used on these. I do know there were some instances with the Siege blast effects where they became rather gammy in terms of their overall nature, and some of them did begin to actually become stuck in some of the ports. I don't necessarily have too much of an issue with these. They do definitely feel a lot firmer in terms of their material, which in my opinion is nice to know that Hasbro are indeed listening to fans. But getting to my favourite blast effect, it has got to be this triple missile launch. I think this one here looks absolutely incredible. You can see how we do have the fire blast and all of the missiles which have been painted in a really nice looking metallic red, deploying and firing upon the Autobot victims. You can pick these onto the null rays, which I personally do prefer to do, or you can mount them onto either of the 2 ports that we have on Starscream's chest. So just to show you that, you can see how he can indeed look as if though he's blasting them out of his chest. So awesome, and this is by far my favourite blast effect that we have gotten across any of the new Transformers lines. Taking a look here, however, at Starscream, in my opinion, I think Hasbro have done a tremendous job in capturing the character model's design and replicating it here for a deluxe class. You will see in my upcoming Soundwave review that I did not necessarily sing that figure's praise, as despite these figures being based on a series which is intended for a much younger audience than my personal demographic, I still believe that the quality of these deluxes should have been up there with the War for Cybertron figures, as they do retail for roughly the exact same price point, and that was my major gripe with Soundwave. However, here with Starscream, he certainly does feel as good as some of those War for Cybertron figures, and in some instances even better. Taking a look here at the details, the head sculpt looks perfect, a really nice representation to what we see on the show, and overall I think that the Cyberverse design is a really nice blend of the G1 aesthetic, however of course modernised in order to make this design look slightly original to the Cyberverse show. But I think that the paintwork there has come out really well. You can see how we do have a silver metallic paint used there for the faceplate. The eyes, nose and mouth have all been clearly defined, and you can see some exceptional sculpt work there to the side of Starscream's helmet. As we take a look here for the torso, this has got to be my favourite aspect of the figure's robot mode. You can see that there is so much going on here, from the turbines there on the chest, which have been picked out in a lovely silver. I really like how they've got this very diagonal design here for the cockpit. Once again, a very nice attention to detail, and is something which is very accurate to how he appears on the show. As we take a look here for the shoulders, it is also nice to see that they have sculpted the intakes, however unfortunately haven't painted them in a gunmetal silver. If they had done, once again it would have better matched his on-screen character appearance. However, it it's still nice that they did include that detail. And as we take a look here for the forearms, you can see the contrast there between the blue plastic used for the hands as well as the lighter grey for the forearms, in my opinion, complement each other really nicely. And of course we do have the iconic Starscream red stripes on the forearms, with this middle section of the null ray picked out in a nice blue, and then the rest of the sculpt work clearly present. As we take a look here down to the lower section of Starscream, I once again do like the contrast between the lighter and darker shades of grey. You can also see we've got some nice metallic grey there used for the knee pads, and taking a look here for the shins, once again really nice looking grey highlights with the blue. And then finally taking a look here at the feet, I think that they've done a really nice job in capturing the slender profile of Starscream from the front and the back, and even from a side profile. This figure really does look very cartoon accurate. I think that they've done an exceptional job. Of course, the jet mode is slightly compromised, however we'll cover that more when we do get the figure transformed, but I've always said that if there was a mode that they needed to compromise in, I would always rather it be the alternate mode than the robot mode, and I definitely think that the end result here for Starscream is a pleasant one. This figure looks so well done. As far as articulation is concerned, we do get a ball joint here at the head, so this can look left to right as well as look up to a tremendous degree, so you can certainly get Starscream into some very cool flying poses. It can also look down and tilt side to side. The arms here are on ball joints, very stiff ball joints I may add, so these can hinge forwards and backwards as well as of course hinge out to the sides. Full 360 rotation here at the bicep as well as a 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Full 360 rotation here at the wrists. We do get a full 360 rotation here at the waist. The legs can kick forwards that far as well as back to that far before they do become slightly restricted due to the nature of the design. They can also hinge out to the sides. Full 360 rotation here at the thigh, and then due to the nature of the transformation, the leg can kick well past 90 only on a single hinge joint. Now granted, the legs are hollow, however due to the nature of the transformation, I am easily able to overlook this, and personally I don't think that they look too bad whatsoever, especially as Starscream is a little bit more of a slender character than compared to the likes of Megatron and Soundwave. And then finally taking a look here at the feet, these can pivot forwards and backwards as well as of course rock side to side to a great degree I may add. So overall, as far as robot mode is concerned, I think that the sculpt, the paintwork as well as the articulation is certainly a thumbs up from me. A really well done Cyberverse Deluxe figure. Here for a very quick Cyberverse Deluxe class Decepticon size comparison, here we have Starscream alongside all of the released Decepticons, and personally I think that he looks really nice with some of these characters, especially the scaling here between him and Megatron. Whilst not spot on to what we see in the cartoon series, I don't think that it looks too bad. He is a little shorter than Megatron, and as all of these figures are deluxe in terms of their scale, you really can't get away from the fact that some of them are not in scale with one another. But upon comparing him to these deluxe figures, I think that this creates for a really nice set. And very quickly for a Wolf Cybertron Deluxe comparison, here we have the new Cyberverse Starscream compared next to the newly released Wolf Cybertron Deluxe Kingdom Warpath. And once again, you can see how he is slightly taller than Warpath, although Warpath is a slightly smaller deluxe due to him being a mini bot. I still do believe that the plastic is certainly here with Starscream. And for one final comparison, here we have him compared next to Earthrise Wheeljack. So once again, very similar in terms of their scale, with Starscream being a little bit taller. And when comparing the plastic, Starscream does feel as if though he has been made out of the same grey plastic that we got here with the War for Cybertron trilogy, something which was absent from the Soundwave figure, which you'll see in his upcoming review. Now turning to Starscream's transformation, surprisingly it is on the more complex side for a Cyberverse Deluxe figure. So to begin with, you're going to want to take the legs here, straighten out the ankle rocker joints, and basically just tab them nice and securely into place. We can then snap all of this in and then proceed to bring this entire assembly here down, once again ensuring that everything does stay aligned. We can then take the waist, rotate it now so that the front is facing the back. We can then turn our attention here to the back of the figure, and you're just going to want to split the jets like so. You're then going to want to take this tab and peg it into this slot here, so just snap that in there. Straighten this out, and of course repeat the exact same process. With that now done, you can take this tab on the back of the arm and this will peg into this slot. The null rays can stay fixed on the figure, so there is no need to remove them despite them being removable, but then you can just snap that in there, and of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side, so just clip that in there as well. Once again, the joints are very stiff on this figure, as you would expect from a deluxe. We can then take the nose cone, and you're going to want to disengage this from the back. You can see how it does lock into this peg. Bring that up. We can then take this entire assembly, and for this you're then going to want to turn to the back, and it is really this joint that does the majority of the moving. You're going to want to apply some pressure to this tab, which will then lift this entire assembly here up. We can then open up this section, tuck the head in there, which I thought was great engineering for a deluxe figure. We can then bring the nose cone over, and this here will come over the top and will snap nice and securely into place. We can then bring this down, and whilst at the same time you can take these two hinge joints and shift this entire crutch assembly forwards. Very nice engineering in my opinion. We can then bring this section here down. Now what I recommend doing is taking the thigh joints, and you're going to want to shift them forwards whilst at the same time ensuring that the crutch does stay into place. So bring this entire assembly here down like so, and you can see how we are having some clearance issues, so just bring those joints there out of the way. You can see these two tabs here and here will peg into some slots, so just snap them in there, which really secure this entire region into place. And you can see how we do have two slots here and here that these two tabs will peg into. So just align that up and snap that in there. And then with this is certainly one of the more finicky aspects of the conversion. You're going to want to get this slot to peg into this tab, and then this circular groove section to sit flush with this circular pauldron. So once again, bring this here over the top and just manipulate all of the joints together so that eventually this here will clip into place. Bring the wings down on these hinge joints. And with all that being said, here we have the Cyberverse Starscream fully transformed up into what is, in my opinion, a decent jet mode. Whilst, of course, not perfect to what we see on screen, once again, I do think that they've done a decent enough job. And when comparing this figure here to other Cyberverse Starscreams, I think that he triumphs over all of them. And this is by far not the worst looking jet mode that I have seen from a Deluxe, Voyager, and in some instances, even a leader class. Taking a look here at some of the details, you can see the Decepticon insignia printed on here to the front of the nose cone. We do have some nice glossy blue paint apps used here for the sides, and you can see that we do have the red stripes on the wings as well as some nice red details here on the side. Taking a look here at the cockpit, you can see that very similarly to what we saw in robot mode, it's very diagonal in terms of its design, and I love how they haven't used faux pieces on this figure. This is indeed the cockpit that we did see in the robot mode. You can see the intakes, which have been picked out in a darker grey. We also do have some nice intake detail here for this section. Taking a look at him here from a side profile, once again, not the cleanest looking jet, but certainly by no stretch of the imagination a dreadful looking jet. The only area which I particularly don't like is that you can clearly see the wrists. It would have been nice if they could have found a way to fold these into the forearms, but nonetheless, for the most part, taking a look here from a bird's eye perspective, I think that it certainly does get the job done. As far as weapon implementation is concerned, we do get a port here which you can just take this blast effect and snap that into place, and then of course we can take the other two blast effects, and these here will peg on to the null rays. So definitely a really awesome figure, and for a deluxe class is certainly one of the more enjoyable Cyberverse figures that I've had the privilege to handle. And so, some final thoughts. Overall, for a Cyberverse Deluxe figure, I think that this figure here has turned out really nicely. As mentioned at the beginning of this review, upon seeing some of the images, I thought that this was going to be the weakest figure out of the wave and pretty much disregarded it and really wasn't even going to pick this figure up. I personally was really looking forward to Soundwave, however, he turned out to be a massive letdown, and that will certainly be evident in my upcoming review for him. Starscream, in my opinion, has a great robot mode, potentially one of the best robot modes that we've gotten out of the Cyberverse Deluxe line so far. He's got all of the correct details, the proportions. I love how clean they've managed to get him from a side perspective, a front perspective, and of course the back. I think that his articulation is stellar and is certainly up to the standards set by the War for Cybertron trilogy. He comes with a great slew of accessories, including 3 blast effects, one of which is quite large for a blast effect, and of course 2 null rays. I also think that the engineering for a deluxe is very sophisticated, once again, especially for a Cyberverse figure, and whilst the jet mode doesn't look fantastic, I certainly don't believe it to be the worst deluxe jet that we've ever seen, and once again, it does triumph over Soundwave. So with all that being said, if you are a Cyberverse fan and are a fan of these deluxe figures, then I think that Starscream here is definitely a must add to your collection. I also think that just in general, if you are a fan of fun deluxe figures and Starscream, that this figure here is also worth picking up. I've had a blast posing this figure around, quite literally, with the amazing blast effects and the stellar articulation. So with all that being said, I really hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.